This week in the Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast, find out what Tom Brady would be doing if he wasn't drafted number 199. A word from our sponsors. F&I Direct is a company comprised of experts on F&I, reinsurance, digital showroom workflows, and much more. They help fix and improve your processes and guarantee results. If you're interested in finding out how you can increase your profit on every unit sold without giving up any of the money you're already making, visit guaranteeddealerprofit.com. guaranteeddealerprofit.com. You can schedule a free strategy call and start being more profitable this month. So don't wait. Traver Connect. Two words ring true for all of us in automotive service space: the phones. When we hear those words, instantly we all sigh. Because as much as things change in our industry, we still get an overwhelming amount of calls. No need to sigh, though. That's where a good BDC comes in handy, doesn't it? I know the team at Traver Connect personally, and these guys get it. And they can help build your service BDC. Or you can use their team to catch the calls you miss from their well-trained team of agents, or have them make outbound calls and set new appointments. Give Traver Connect a call today. As they say, revenue doesn't leave a message at the beep. TraverConnect.com. Dynatron Software. Dynatron Software is the premier provider of automotive, fixed operation, data analytics, business intelligence, and pricing optimization. We are changing the way automotive dealerships look at their service department profitability and revenue streams. We are laser focused on profit management for fixed operations and uncovering hidden opportunities for our clients. DynatronSoftware.com. Big thank you to all our sponsors, helping to bring this show to you every single week. Welcome back, everybody, to the Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast. We are excited to have our guest, James Whittaker, with us today. And James, thank you for being with us.
Dave, thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. James is a three-time best-selling author. And for those of you who do not know who James is, if you could just give us a little synopsis of who you are.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned three-time best-selling author. Twice this week, I've been asked if I've had a ghostwriter before. So no, I haven't had a ghostwriter. I actually have a degree in English and writing. So writing is something that I love, and I have a bit of a technical background in that too. So no ghostwriters. From Australia originally. I've been in the US for about the last 8 years. So I live in Los Angeles, California now, which is usually good fun, but obviously it's been a bit of a tough time with the pandemic.
Yeah.
I have a podcast called Win the Day with James Whittaker, a company called We Are Podcast, which hosts events to get some of the biggest podcasters and entrepreneurs and marketers on the planet. and also a membership community called We Are Members that helps podcasters make $15,000 in monthly revenue from their show. So apart from those things, the most recent book is called Andrew Carnegie's Mental Dynamite. So I do a lot of work with the Napoleon Hill Foundation. So yes, a busy individual, but all good stuff that I enjoy.
Absolutely. So you started out in financial planning, and I don't know if I can necessarily find a world further apart from financial planning to the, obviously the Napoleon Hill Foundation, Think and Grow Rich, and all of that, but all the mental aspects of stuff that you're digging into now and things seem so far away. How did that transition take place?
Yeah. It was interesting. The biggest transition was more from the corporate route to like the entrepreneurial route. So spending more than 10 years in that corporate environment, it taught me a lot. Like I really, really enjoyed that time. It gave me a really great foundation for understanding client service offering. And eventually with this company, I was in charge of more than 30 financial advisors for a company that had more than $2 billion under management, that had clients all around Australia and all around the world. So it was my job to manage the advisor team, but part of that was improving every single aspect of the advisor-client relationship, as well as source relationships for complementary industries that had a similar target market, a similar audience, prospective client base as clients. So we would go and create those relationships with lawyers and mortgage brokers and aged care facilities and that type of thing. So it taught me so much, but the work that I do now on the entrepreneurial side, it's just more aligned to what I love to do. Like even with the financial planning side, like I did very much enjoy my time there, and I have so many really close friends from my time there, and it's a really good background when I do talk personal finance. I've got a podcast and a blog where I wrote about how to become a financial winner, which is one of my most popular episodes. So it's great to be able to have that background to help people at times when the share market might absolutely plummet during a pandemic, to really give people an idea of what to do to move forward away from the hysteria. So it's a really great background, but I'm more comfortable in the entrepreneurial route, despite having a few more gray hairs.
At least you have the hairs.
We're a good combo.
So the lost my question. The thought of the books that you've done, like the Beginner's Guide to Wealth, obviously ties back to your financial planning. So Andrew Carnegie's Mental Dynamite, that was, although still ties into wealth at some aspect of it. How did you become so involved with the Napoleon Hill Foundation?
Well, I had an opportunity to meet people who were making a film called Think and Grow Rich: The Legacy. So I met with them at True Food Kitchen in Santa Monica, and they had read The Beginner's Guide to Wealth, and we were just having a conversation over a meal. And I basically asked them, "Hey, you're obviously having a book that comes out with the movie?" And they said, yeah, but they were very, very vague on the details. And I basically just said to them, well, if I was you, this is what I would do. There are 13 principles in the original Think and Grow Rich. Why don't you provide a chapter that covers each of those principles, that starts by introducing it in a modern context, and then you can interview or tell the stories of 2 or 3 people who best personify that principle, and then that would be the companion to the book. And they were silent, and then they just said, can you do it? And I said, yes, I can do it. I'll knock it out of the park for you. That was a big lesson for me around just giving without the expectation of anything in return. So that was when I became involved in the project as executive producer of the film and author of the book. That was my first involvement with the Napoleon Hill Foundation. Now I'm extremely close with Don Green, who's the CEO and executive director of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. We talk very often. He also runs all the foreign language deals. So every now and then I get an email or a letter in the mail or a phone call to say, hey, your book is now in Portuguese, and it's in Brazil, or it's in wherever it might be. It's in Malaysia, all of these different countries. In Japan, I've got a copy of the Japanese version behind me, which I'm told is Think and Grow Rich: The Legacy. I can't read Japanese, I'm sorry to say, but I love being involved with the Napoleon Hill Foundation because Think and Grow Rich was the book that changed my dad's life. So it's something that I knew the power of it before I even interviewed people like Barbara Corcoran and Rob Dyrdek and Bob Proctor and everyone else who's in the book and the film.
Yeah, I think the movie and the book kind of helped people with those modern analogies. A lot of people have trouble with the original because obviously it was the 1920s. It was written much differently, and it's sometimes hard for people to get their head around what the real message is because they can't get by the language that's used. And that was one of the things that was so powerful to me in the legacy, was that it modernized everything and really made things much clearer for people who didn't understand, from either attempting to get through Think and Grow Rich or getting through it and just going, I don't understand.
Yeah, I'm happy you brought that up, Dave, because my real primary objective with Think and Grow Rich, the legacy, was to make sure that if this was someone's introduction to success and personal development, I just didn't want them to feel stupid or that they didn't understand anything, because people can read Think and Grow Rich. It is a tough read. If you're 18 years old and everyone said, hey, got to read Think and Grow Rich, it'll change your life, 999 out of 1,000 18-year-olds they just won't get it.
Right.
And I read it when I was 16 or 17, I think it was, for the first time, and it just didn't hit me. But as you get older and you have more life experience to bring to it, and then you realize that you don't read it like a novel. You need to read a page, you need to think about it, you need to get out there and apply it. And as you have more and more life experience to bring to it, that is the reason people like Sharon Lechter and Bob Proctor and Rob Dyrdek read this book constantly. They don't notice something new in the book, they notice something new in themselves.
Yes. Yeah, it's one of Who Moved My Cheese, which is a very short book, is a book that I have read hundreds of times, and Think and Grow Rich is another one of those books that I visit all the time. And you're right. It's not that you ever find anything new in the book. It's that you find a new application into your life. And I didn't get the book until I was in my 40s, early 40s. So I already had that life experience behind me. So when I read it, it was like a big eye-popping moment.
Bolt of lightning.
Yes, exactly. As I read through it, but yeah, I can certainly see, as I've tried to get younger people to read it, and you try to explain some of the lessons and things, and it doesn't set in because they haven't had that experience for it to set in too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But definitely powerful lessons within it. And like I said, I love the fact that the legacy modernized that and made that accessible to many more people.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's still the best. Like the original Think and Grow Rich is still the best-selling self-help book of all time, with more than 120 million copies sold. So it's an amazingly transformational book for so many people. People, I think, just need to spend a few minutes understanding how to read it beforehand, rather than trying to attack it without that background or context.
Yeah, right. They need to add that as a foreword to the book.
That's right. A bit of a how-to guide. Instructions on how to, hopefully a bit more simple than IKEA, putting IKEA furniture together.
Absolutely. Yeah, that I think that would greatly help some people if they could understand how to actually read it. It's not a cover to cover kind of book, that's for sure.
For sure.
So with what you're doing with podcasting, obviously I like podcasting. I have a podcast. So the We Are podcast is a very cool movement that you have, and helping people. Obviously, a lot of people are like, "Oh, podcasts, it's a saturated market," and then they go back and produce a video for YouTube that has so many more people on it.
Or they write a blog where there's like 8 trillion blogs getting released every single day.
Exactly. So how does We Are podcast work? How are you helping people through that?
So We Are podcast. We run 4 events a year we're doing this year. So we ran 2 events last year. We ran one in May and we ran one in November. We've had amazing speakers. We've had John Lee Dumas, Pat Flynn. We've had Darren O'Leen, who had the #1 Netflix documentary with Zac Efron.
Awesome.
We've had Keith Ferrazzi, who's a #1 New York Times best-selling author and has been amazingly impactful on my life. We have had, and I'm forgetting so many people. I mean, we've had more than 100 speakers at these events, really high-level people who have been handpicked for their ability to create that transformation for these people. So we've had people from more than 20 countries attend our event in the last 12 months. So the big problem with podcasts is everyone is motivated to start one. That's why there are so many podcasts out there.
Right.
But more than 80% of podcasts have less than 8 episodes available. So a lot of people start podcasts, but not a lot of people finish them because they don't have the right plan.
Yep.
So people who have an idea for a podcast, we show them how they can monetize a podcast from day one and how they can do a differentiated show that attracts high quality guests, that releases amazing content, and it positions themselves as the guide rather than the hero. So they get clear on the audience and who they want to help, and then they guide them through to a journey to achieve a certain outcome that they're after. And as part of that transformation comes all into the value of their entire offering. So we teach podcasters how to scale their income without scaling their workload through their podcast, through their business, through their brand, through the products that they create, through the audience that they build. So we've got an event coming up. I'm not sure when this episode's going live, but we've got an episode coming up on the 18th and 19th of February, which is even going to include topics like how to get your first 10,000 followers on Clubhouse. So that's been an amazing group, because the biggest thing with that is just the quality of people that it attracts. I mean, quality is in, I'm not talking about people who have a lot of money. I'm talking about people who turn up because they're committed to their own development, and they're ready to get real about where they're at and what they want to achieve. And they're my type of people. We don't talk about the weather or anything like that. We get super clear on what do you think's holding you back and where do you want to go? And then we bring in the best people of the world to be able to create that transformation.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it is a big problem in the podcasting industry, if you will, that people start it and either get bored with it, have no idea the amount of work that it takes, or just don't put a system together to allow them to do it consistently, and so it ends up falling off. And I was guilty of that when I started this podcast. It was under a different name when I first started it, and I did a few episodes, and then it was a month before I did another one, and then it kind of fell off and went away. And then in May, I think it was, of this year, I was like, okay, I need to get serious, but this is what I'm committing to. I'm committing to at least an episode every Monday, and maybe more, but at least one every Monday. And now it's just a rhythm where you can keep producing content and make sure that you have it edited and ready to go. But so many people just aren't prepared for the amount of effort that does go into it.
Yeah, it's so true. And there are different types of podcasters. There are people I know who have more than 2,000 episodes out who haven't generated a single dollar because they don't know how. And there are people out there who have less than 10 episodes, like people in our We Are members group who've got more than $15,000 in a month from just doing things the right way. Now, I really genuinely hate talking to people about making money. I feel like I'm, part of some type of network marketing company, but it's at the end of the day, I have just seen this transformation for too many people. And as you said, if you have a passion and you can't monetize it, you're going to be selling insurance or doing something else that maybe you really, really hate. Right. Like I heard Tom Brady talk about, if he wasn't drafted last, I think it was in the NFL, he would have been doing, he would have been an insurance agent, which is totally fine if that's your passion. But I mean, if you're a podcaster, you start a podcast because you are passionate about something. There's a problem that you want to solve or a solution that you want to bring to the world. If you can't figure out how to sustain that, if you can't monetize your own passion, then you are robbing the world of so much transformation. So it's on you to get really, really clear about the solution you want to bring and the audience who you can help, and figure out how to activate that monetization side. That's the reason that making money from your podcast is so important.
Right. It's not the money in the end. Money is just another material thing, right? But it's a way. It's the vehicle for you to be able to bring that message that you have to the world, to people that need to hear it. And you're doing a disservice if you're not bringing that. If you're not doing everything you can to bring that message that people need to hear out there.
Absolutely. And again, I'm really happy that you brought that up, because our goal with We Are Podcasts is to create 1 billion social impacts by 2030. So we have a nonprofit partner called B1G1 who does amazing things around the world. So anyone who goes to We Are Podcast to buy a ticket, by default, we have something what's called a ticket for good that's added. So it's $19 that's added. That money, all of it goes straight to B1G1, our nonprofit partner, to save a child from sexual abuse, which is just such a, awesome. Especially when you have kids of your own. I'm a dad of a 21-month-old daughter, and it almost brings me to tears thinking about other people around the world who are in that situation. So what we want to do with We Are Podcast, our goal is twofold. By 2030, we want to help 1 billion podcasters. We want to help our podcast network make $1 billion total from their shows. And as a result of that, it's 1 billion social impacts for our nonprofit partner B1G1. And we've already made almost 80,000 social impacts already just from our work with B1G1. So that's what drives us every single day to say, look, you know what, these are the things that you need help with these podcasters to move it forward. And I think people can sense, they had that instinct. They know when people are true to their word versus those people who aren't, because at the end of the day, relationships have been absolutely everything for me. They're what's contributed to everything that you see behind me and every opportunity that I've ever been given. And in this world, every other part of it is increasingly transactional. Right. But that is the opportunity for people who can focus on the long game and on the relationship side, where anything that you want done is done because you've built up decades of social capital.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's in fixed ops, where the parts and service business of a dealership, that's what we say all the time. We're in the relationship business. People just happen to bring their vehicles with them. You know, it doesn't really matter whether you're fixing cars, fixing widgets, fixing phones. If you can build a relationship with your customer or your listener in this case, then you can have that long game. You can keep them coming back and re-engaging and certainly get your message out to more people and multiply that benefit in the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is some cool stuff that you're doing with that. So I'm going to go back to some of your leadership things and stuff. So if you have someone come to you who is struggling in their work or in their life, what are some of the steps that you take them through to help them break through what is actually holding them back?
Yeah, the people who I work with, I work with I have worked with an extremely eclectic group of people, but inevitably the people who I talk to, it doesn't matter where they're, the heads of innovation at some of the biggest companies in the world, like household names, or I've had people who are partners in hedge funds that have made salaries of more than $10 million a year. Inevitably, right down to people who are just starting out, the people who feel like they're treading water, or they're not living with purpose, they're not living with passion, they're not making up, whatever it might be. Inevitably, it's because of two things. They're not clear on who they are, and they're not clear on where they want to go. And it's funny how that can happen with people who have very success in one field in particular. They might have an enormously high income, but the rest of their life is a mess. Or maybe some of their life is pretty good. Maybe physically they feel good, but they're not activating that monetization side. So we get crystal clear on who you are and where you want to go. So I have a success plan template, which I genuinely believe is the number one goal setting system available anywhere on the planet. And what you do with that is you basically write down the date. So you write down, first of all, we write down 90 days from today, and 1 year and 3 years, and then our perfect destination. And then it's broken up by 8 different categories on the left. Everything from travel, health, spouse, all those types of different things, business. And then at the very top, you include your mission and your values. And what we do there is we go and write down, just brainstorm, what do you want out of your life? So maybe it's to have 200 clients for your business by the end of the year. So you would drop that in the 1 year goal under professional. And then you would say, what does that look like in 90 days? And then what does that look like in 3 years? And why are you doing that? That's really the perfect destination piece. And by the time you've filled out that entire sheet, which is an Excel file, so it's totally malleable, you can change categories, you can add rows, you can delete rows if you want. All this is available as a free download. Then what you do is you go through and you make sure that all of those things that you've included align with your mission and with your values. And if they don't, you just go and update it accordingly. And what you do after that is you take all of those 90-day goals that you've got, because the entire sheet should be filled out at that stage. And you take those 90-day goals and you turn them into action items that you need to do in the next 90 days to make those things a reality. And then you put them into your calendar. So this goes back to the system that you and I were talking about earlier. And then you can release yourself from any worry about where you're going to end up in the future, because you've already written the ending. You know exactly where you're going to end up. You just need to focus on putting one foot in front of the other. And then the final piece of the puzzle with all of that is making sure that you have a recurring 90-day calendar invite to do all that over again, to reset those 90-day action items. And then once a year, you just redo that process of the success plan. So that's something that's been absolutely enormously successful in my own life. And it's something that my wife and I do every single year, and that I've done with people now in more than 20 countries.
Wow. That's, as you're saying that, I have not seen that laid out, but I'm picturing that in my head, and I'm picturing the amount of actual deep thinking that you have to do to be able to lay that out the way, if you are truly engaged, to lay that out properly, and so that you actually really believe it.
Yeah, for sure. Like a big part of that, like the people who teach this stuff don't even do that. That's the part that's sort of weird to me. Like I've been invited into doing this at different places, and people don't even, the ones who are telling people to sort of set goals, they don't even know what goals are in the first place. So this has been great because I can help anyone achieve whatever they want. Like I've just done it for long enough in different industries, and I've got a good enough network that can make those things happen.
Right.
But if I don't know what you want and you don't know what you want, then there's just nothing I can do for you. So whether I'm running a mastermind, whether it's part of our podcasting group, whatever it might be, the very first thing we do is we spend a fair chunk of time making sure that I and every single other person there know exactly what you want, because there are people out there who want to help, but if they don't know what you need help with, they can't help you and they won't. So we figure out exactly what's most important to you, making sure you can have a specific ask of those people around you. And of course, I'll that's what I do. I help people as much as I can in those groups, and we make those big things happen. Like it's a very linear transformational process, rather than a lot of people out there, whether it's a mastermind program or just any service, they're so focused on getting the transaction.
Right.
And I'm focused on the transformation rather than the transaction.
Yeah, absolutely. And that knowing is what's going to help almost define that passion, right? Because people, you hear people all the time say, if you just go and follow your passion, to just do your passion, whatever it is. But people down deep don't really know what it is that they are truly passionate about, or if they do know what they're passionate about, they don't know how to lay out that course, the way that their course of action to get there, to make it so they can do what they're passionate about.
Absolutely. I mean, this process is not something that I just woke up and all of a sudden created. I mean, this has been honed by interviewing 200 of the world's most successful individuals, and many conversations with billionaires and literal household names and television personalities and all of, really, really high level entrepreneurs who are doing amazing things, and so many books and things that I've read. Like I've been on this journey of peak performance and self-discovery, which I'm still on. I feel like we're all learning every single day about what to do to live happier and more balanced and have the impact and things that we want to make. So it's as a result of that entire journey. I feel like the success plan template is sort of if I go today, that at least it's my gift to the world to help a whole bunch of other people for the rest of their lives.
Absolutely. That would be a great gift, but I'm sure that's not all you're leaving the world. So I wouldn't be concerned about that. So as you start to lay those things out for people, what do you find most people are stumbling over the most? What is the thing or few things that people really struggle with to get by?
Yeah, a big thing is people they're so stressed in the present. Now, stress doesn't live in the present. If we're truly being present, stress only exists in the future or in the past. So if we're feeling stressed, if we're experiencing these feelings, we're not where we need to be. So the way that I've evolved my daily routine is just part of this stuff. I wake up now at 5 a.m. I only started this actually fairly recently. And I wake up and there's a Bob Proctor quote who says, Bob Proctor said, "When I wake up, I get up." So now I have that thought in my head constantly. I hear it. So I don't sleep with my phone in my room. So I tell my wife, "Hey, you can set that alarm for 5 o'clock. We're in the 5 a.m. club." And so that's totally fine, because she's actually much more of a morning person than I am traditionally. So I'll wake up at 5 a.m. Then I'll go and have a cold shower. So no hot at all. It's winter now in California. Ooh. It's not a great experience, but it's invigorating afterwards. And after that, I do either a 10-minute meditation or a 20-minute meditation. And at the end of that meditation process, but as part of the practice, it's a manifestation piece, because the brain doesn't know the difference between memories that have already happened versus imagined memories for the future. So I think about an important event that I might have that day. Maybe it's a sales call, maybe it's a podcast, maybe I'm speaking at an event, whatever it might be. And I'm putting myself in the scenario for me to bring my absolute best to that situation. So cold shower, meditation, 5-minute journal. And actually after the meditation, I go and write this. I do a big cross on the page. It's the same process that Jerry Seinfeld used, because meditation is the one goal I could just never nail, and I've really got it nailed this year because of this 100 board that I'm holding up here. Yep. So if you have that daily routine and you know what work you need to do today, that's it. Like, start your morning off on the right note. It means before my daughter wakes up at 7:30 a.m. That's why I'm up so early, because anyone who's a parent knows your day can get derailed pretty quickly. So if I can get those reps in before she wakes up, I'm a much happier person. I'm much more present with her, and I know exactly what work I need to do to make today a win. There's a quote I share at every single speech I do that might be interesting for you and your audience. It's that each day, if you do not make the decision to win, you have automatically made the decision to lose. So if you wake up and you're staring at your phone, I mean, these things are just, they after sleeping with my phone in a different room, I am astounded at the level of stress it instantly brings to me when I pick it up and look at the notifications. It's like, oh my God, what is all this stuff? And you realize how much time is wasted just scrolling through nothingness. And so my big goals for 2021, they're too lofty. I feel like I'm playing a video game where I've got the cheat codes where everything is great. So I'm feeling fantastic this year, and just excited to have some good things happening and to help a lot of people.
That's awesome. So I won't say I'm not a morning person, but my productive time is definitely not morning. I have been my whole life the night owl. I start to wake up at 9-10 o'clock at night, and that's
me too, Dave. I get it. Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
And I mean, that's when I find myself, editing podcasts, writing copy, that kind of stuff is at night, when I should probably be laying myself down to go to sleep. It definitely helps me in the mornings when I get up and don't focus on anything in particular. Just get up, spend some time. I can't meditate in the morning because I go back to sleep, but I probably wouldn't if I took a cold shower. But this is New England. I promise you, it's colder than your California winter.
I spent a year in Boston, my friend. I know it all too well. I lived in Central Square in Cambridge. But this 100 board, I'm telling you, this is the exact process Jerry Seinfeld used to write every day, because he realized the best comedians are the ones who can tell the best jokes. So to tell the best jokes, it meant he needed to be writing jokes every single day. And that's what he did. The only goal was to not break the chain. Once you start that chain, don't break it. It's the easiest way to achieve these goals. So and the reason, if I was single and living by myself, I would probably still be a massive night owl. I only became a morning person because of my wife, and now that we have our daughter, life circumstances have forced my hand. Like, it really, like, a lot of people tell you you got to get up at 5 a.m. and 4 a.m. And all that matters is your output for the day. It really doesn't matter whether you wake up at 11 a.m. or 4 a.m. What matters is what you do in the hours that you're awake.
Right. Yeah, that's I'm definitely more productive at night. Those morning hours are definitely, my wife and my son are 14. My wife's not 14. My son is 14. And so he's not up that early, but obviously the house starts stirring, and it's nice to have that quiet time to sit and watch some birds at the bird feeder and just let your mind kind of wander, before you start putting your mind to work to actually do some other things. I don't always journal every day. But I took something from James Altucher, and I do 10 ideas every single day on just some random subject, whatever it is. 10 ideas to shapes of light bulbs or whatever it is. Just something to get your mind going and using a different part of your mind.
I'm not familiar with that. What does he talk about? What's that process?
Basically, he is taking a small notebook. He uses actually a waiter pad is what he uses on his. I just use a very small 5x7 notebook. And you just, every morning you're just picking a subject, like I said, a random subject, whatever comes into your head, and then you're writing 10 ideas about that. So might be 10 ways to monetize a podcast, might be 10 books you could write, 10 ugly sweater designs, whatever it is. It's just all random stuff. And then you write just 10 ideas. Very simply, you don't elaborate on them or anything else, and it is simply there to just get your mind going and get your mind thinking of something to put you in the process of moving for the day. And that has been very cool to do that every single day. And you come out with some wacky lists of things. But sometimes on that list, you get to one and you're like, well, that's a good idea. I'm going to hold on to that one.
You're like, I'm a genius.
Yes. So that is a process that has worked well for me. And I've actually brought it into my coaching group that I have, and have them doing that every day to get them into that same habit. So,
I love that process, because when it comes to things like nutrition or daily routines, everyone has an opinion on what everyone else should be doing. But in my experience, the best things happen when you just try a whole bunch of different things and find out what works for you. Like that sounds great to me. You wake your brain up, you feel good, you get those big things happen. Like, it's amazing. If that's what works for you perfectly, then it's incredible. I did leave out that an integral part of my morning is to have a delicious coffee. So that's between the cold shower, the meditation, and the coffee. I'm absolutely ready to go after that. So coffee, one coffee a day. Australians are actually obsessed with good coffee. It's a really bizarre part about our culture. So it's all espresso coffee. Drip coffee doesn't even exist in Australia, which is really bizarre. So that is one part of the Aussie blood that's still running through my veins.
Americans are obsessed with coffee, but not necessarily good coffee, just any coffee, right?
but I am a New England Patriots fan after my time in Boston, and of course going for Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
We are in this household rooting for Tom. It's, just to prove everybody in New England that it wasn't just New England that let him win. So excellent.
For sure.
Oh, well, James, this is a great conversation. I thank you for spending some time with us. What is the best place for people to find you and find out more about you?
Yeah, people can go to my website, JamesWhitt, JamesWhitt.com. You can go on and get a free download of the Success Plan template on there. If you want to attend our podcasting event, it's wearepodcast.com, or you can connect with me on Instagram at JamesWhitt, as I mentioned earlier. So there's a whole bunch of free resources in the link in my bio on Instagram. If I can help anyone at all, reach out and I will do everything I can.
Awesome. Thank you again for spending some time with us.
Dave, great to see you, my friend. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
You too. Take care. All right, that was another episode. The Fixed Ops Mastermind podcast. Thanks for being with us. Absolutely amazing talking with James Whittaker. Some incredible insights into life, podcasting, business, using money as a tool, as a vehicle to help others. Abundance. Man, it's all in there. Thank you for joining us. We always appreciate you coming here. Share us out with somebody else. Subscribe to the podcast. That's what we live on. Till next time.